The Town of Ticky Tocky and the Mystery of the Floating Bed. Once upon a time, not too long ago and not too far from here, there was a town called Ticky Tocky. Everything in Ticky Tocky ran exactly on time. Breakfast at 7 o'clock sharp. School at 8 o'clock. Nap at 1 o'clock. And bedtime at 8 o'clock on the dot. Even the pigeons in the park knew when to coo and when to sleep. But something very strange started happening in Ticky Tocky. It began with a whisper, like a breeze tiptoeing through the curtains at night. Then came the giggles. Yes, giggles. Late at night, when every clock in town pointed to 8 o'clock and every kid was tucked in under warm blankets, tiny giggles floated through the air. No one knew where they came from. Until one night, something floated. A bed. An actual bed. With a kid in it. Floating. It started with Penny Parker, a curious 8-year-old who had a stuffed whale named Wobble and a serious fear of lima beans. Her parents kissed her goodnight, turned off the light, and shut the door. But just as Penny was drifting off, her bed trembled softly, like it had the hiccups. Then, zoop! The bed lifted off the floor and glided straight out the window. Penny blinked, thinking she was dreaming. But no, Wobble squeaked right next to her and whispered, "This is real, Penny. Hold on tight." She soared above the town, above chimneys and rooftops and blinking traffic lights. She passed other kids in other floating beds, some were yawning, some were wide-eyed, and all were confused. Ahead of them, something enormous was floating in the sky, a cloud that looked like a bubble bath. It was glowing faintly. The beds lined up like train cars and entered the cloud one by one. Inside was a sky world. A secret place above the clouds where the air smelled like vanilla ice cream and popcorn, and the clouds bounced like trampolines. There were enormous umbrellas twirling upside down, glowing hopscotch paths that hovered in the air, and silver ladders hanging from nothing. "Welcome," said a voice that sounded like a saxophone mixed with a belly laugh. A giant creature stepped forward, part jellyfish, part librarian. It wore tiny glasses balanced on what might have been a nose, though no one could tell. It had 15 legs, each holding a paintbrush, a teacup, or a book. "I am Zindle," it said. "Guardian of the Midnight Whimsy." "The what?" asked Penny. "The Midnight Whimsy," Zindle repeated. "It's where wild thoughts come to play. Ideas that never get used. Dreams that are too weird to dream. And lately, it's been leaking." "Leaking?" "Yes," Zindle said. "Into your world. That's why your beds are flying. Your minds are wide open. And bedtime? It's the door." Penny didn't know what to say. Neither did any of the other kids. So they just followed Zindle through the cloud world. They passed a river made entirely of melted crayons. Boats shaped like socks floated by. A swarm of flying spoons sang opera. In the distance, a mountain sneezed and shot glitter into the sky. Zindle led them to the dream generator, a tall, swirly contraption with pipes and pulleys and a big blinking button labeled, "Do not press." Guess what happened? Of course, someone pressed it. A boy named Max with cereal still stuck in his hair said, "Oops." The machine hiccuped. Then it burped. Then it exploded with a WHOSH and sprayed dreams everywhere. Suddenly, a house that danced the cha-cha slid past them. A turtle in a tuxedo served marshmallows on stilts. A staircase ran away giggling. And in the middle of it all, was a glowing hole. The leak. Zindle gasped. That's where the ideas are falling through. We need to patch it. Penny raised her hand. With what? Zindle looked at the children. With wonder. The kids were confused. Wonder? Yes, Zindle said. Anything you imagine. Anything so strange it makes your eyebrows argue with each other. Shout it into the hole. One by one, the kids did. I imagine a goat with a mustache that tells riddles. I imagine jelly bean shoes that tap dance. I imagine spaghetti that sings lullabies. I imagine a cat that only speaks French and only on Tuesdays. Each shout sent a burst of color into the air. The hole began to shrink. The more they imagined, the more it sealed. Penny closed her eyes and whispered, I imagine a bedtime so fun that no one ever fears sleep again. With a flash of sparkling blue, the hole vanished. Zindle beamed. You did it. The sky world began to spin gently, like a mobile above a baby's crib. The floating beds gathered again. Zindle handed each child a glowing marble. If you ever need to come back, it said, just hold this and yawn 3 times in a row. The beds floated back down, gently landing in bedrooms across Ticky Tocky. No one remembered exactly what happened. Not fully. But each child woke up with a glowing marble on their nightstand and the faintest scent of vanilla ice cream and popcorn in the air. That night, not one child was afraid to go to sleep. Because they all knew that bedtime wasn't an ending, it was a beginning. Good night, dreamers. See you in the sky.